everybody. Welcome to this month's episode of Obscure Animation. And this is a show where we like to talk about the indie and otherwise we like to talk about the indie and small animated films and give them some love. And I am film critic Rachel Wagner, and Stanford's here.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm really excited to talk to you about this film.
Yeah. So we are talking today about Vivo. And what got me thinking about doing this for Obscure Animation is I had just had my interview with Kurt D'Amico, who's the director of it. And, it's a film that I really admired when it came out, but it got kind of buried because of the pandemic.
Pandemic,
Yeah, and
right?
just getting the Netflix release, and so people didn't get really see it. And it's a shame because I think it's a really strong film. It's a really cute film.
Yeah, I agree. I loved it, and so I'm excited. I'm excited to talk with you about it. Uh,
Yeah.
and it got buried for me, Rachel. I mean, it's like one of those.
Yeah.
I remember hearing about it, like, oh, I'm kind of interested in that, and then it just, kind of fell off the face of the earth. Because so this is my first time watching it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was so glad you always, you never lead me astray on these awesome films, and this was great.
Yeah, they had an animationist film and
Oh,
yeah, so and I asked Kirk if he's ever seen it on the big screen. He said that aside from like editing and things like
like yeah.
they never had like a premiere or anything.
Oh, that's just too bad because this
I
is one I
know.
really would love to see on the big screen.
I
Did you get
know.
to see it on the big screen an animationist film? Then I guess you did. Did they show the
Yeah,
whole? Did they
yeah.
screen the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
And it's so weird with animation film this year. They didn't announce it until really late. And then
Like, wait,
finally
I just
this
saw like
week,
yesterday. Yeah,
yeah, this week they finally put up the schedule. And I'm like, and it's for October 18th. And I'm like, I already have plans.
yeah. I
My whole
can't go.
weekend, I
I
have
can't go.
plans.
Yeah, I can't go.
It's so weird. Like if they had even had been a month earlier, I could have maybe, planned things around. But I have my New York trip that's till the 12th. And there's no way I could, go out to LA that next weekend.
Right.
So
It's a
anyway,
bummer. I would
it was
love
weird.
to see the new Hayao Miyazaki
Oh,
film
I
and the Chinese,
know.
the Chinese theater. That
Yeah.
was so fantastic. But anyway,
Uh,
not meant to be this round.
you weren't dying to see the trolls.
The NSYNC
Yeah.
Trolls movie. No.
But yeah, that was strange that they're doing that the way they did that this year. I couldn't believe that there was nothing on the website until literally this week.
Yeah.
But anyway, so very few people have gotten to see this on the big screen. But one thing that was interesting in talking with Kirk is that this thing was in development for a long time. Like
Yeah.
it felt like because that year 2021 was like Lin-Manuel Miranda's year because In the Heights and Vivo and Tick Tick Boom all in the same year.
I just Lin-Manuel Miranda's energy.
And
I mean, I know that
Encanto.
this has been in development, and then in Kanto, I just kind of, I'm in awe. I don't know how he does
Yeah.
it. I mean, other stuff's probably more spread out than we realize,
Yeah.
but still,
Well,
holy
that's the
smokes.
thing. So he first pitched this in 2010. So this was pre-Hamilton,
Yeah, yeah,
which I thought was interesting.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, he had just won the Tony for In the Heights,
yeah.
I guess.
And he pitched it to DreamWorks, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then that fell through, and I'm glad he was persistent with
Yeah.
it, or
So he pitched
however
it
that.
in 2010, and then it spent 5 years in production in DreamWorks, and then probably when it got sold to Universal.
Yeah,
In 2015, it got sent over to Sony. And became a Sony project, and you can really see that Sony influence.
yes, you
It's very
can.
exciting. I mean, what they're doing at their studio is just
Sony
amazing.
animation just knocks me out. It's
Yeah.
this and I just this in particular, I just thought this
Hmm.
was
Yeah.
so beautifully animated.
Yeah. The animation, especially the 2D, just I loved it so much.
Wow, wasn't one of those 2D sections fantastic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, and it's one that I kind of want you there's a lot of those films from the pandemic that we were pretty nice. We were just excited to get
So
content,
happy to
let's
have
be honest.
anything new, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh. Did you watch this on Netflix then too?
Yeah, I think so. I
Okay,
might have
because
gotten a screener. I can't remember.
okay,
Um, it was such a weird time for screeners, like which ones we got and which ones we didn't
yeah,
get, and
no, it's
and
so
uh
weird.
and I can't remember. I think I just watched it regular though. I really do. I really
Okay,
do. Yeah.
see, and I didn't, and I was so sad that again I just spaced it. You know,
Yeah.
it just I missed it, and I think
Hmm.
I don't think again I know it's tricky with Netflix, but it didn't have a ton of marketing, or if any, did it?
No, it really didn't. It just got kind of buried, like
Just
you're
like
saying.
thrown out on
I
the streaming service, right? And then it was like, okay,
Yeah. I think it
good
came
luck.
out right around the same time as Luca, and I think that kind of got the
That Luca got more of the
yeah.
attention. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm. And it's Vivo follows a one of a kind Kikachu who's
Pikachu.
yeah, who spends his days playing music to the crowds in a lively square with his beloved owner Andres. Though they don't speak the same language, Vivo and Andres are the perfect duo through their common love of music. But when tragedy strikes, shortly after Andres receives a letter from the famous Marta Sandoval inviting her old partner to her farewell concert with the hope of reconnecting, it's up to Vivo to deliver the message that Andres never could, a love letter to Marta written long ago in the form of a song. Yet, in order to get to Marta, who lives in a world away, Vivo needs to help from Gabby, an energetic tween who bounces to the beat of her own offbeat drum. So yeah, overall, you enjoyed the
Oh,
film.
I loved it. I really
Mhm.
did. I
Yeah.
thought it was again so the art was so beautiful,
Hmm.
uh and just so vibrant in so many different ways. I
Yeah.
know we'll get into more detail about that. Well, and then I just love the music.
Yeah.
And um I thought Lin Manuel Miranda was an excellent voice, when he was
Hmm.
recording these tracks, and it just kind of I mean, it just almost felt it was so comfortable because it's
Yeah.
like so familiar because I love In the Heights, I love Hamilton, I love all of his film work, and so this was just another round of great
Yeah.
songs, by him,
Yeah.
and
I
and,
would
and that
say
he sang most of it,
I think
himself.
it's one of his strongest
Oh, I do too.
scores.
I
I
think
mean
the
his
score was really really
music
good.
music. I really enjoyed it, and I I I I almost wish that it was just Vivo's story because I do think that Gabby can be a little grating, and
Gabby, I'll be honest, I'm with you. I was a little annoyed with Gabby. Uh, and then that whole kind of subplot with the sand dollars and stuff.
yeah, with the Girl Scouts characters.
Yeah, that you
Because I
know,
think if they're gonna include her, I just feel like she would be a little bit scared. She would be a little bit, I'm not really sure. They say tween in the summary. I'm not sure how old she's supposed to be, but
yeah.
I you would be a little scared being out completely, on your own on this like raft and then in the
We're happening
jungle
into
and
the
then in a
Everglades.
like
I mean, holy cow! And then those creatures, that horrifying snake that Michael wrote
yeah.
her voice.
Like if you think about using one of your favorite films as an example, if you think about The Rescuers and Penny, like she's terrified,
Yeah,
like and scared. I mean, she's abducted, so it's a little different, but still,
but
you want
Gabby's so
your
nonplussed, as you right.
yeah,
I mean, just yeah, she's like
yeah.
whatever.
So I almost wish that it could just be Vivo's story and him sending the letter and but it's not a deal breaker for me. But
No, it
yeah.
wasn't a deal breaker for me either. But I'm with you. She was a little grating, and yeah, I kind of
Mhm.
Vivo's story is just so much more interesting.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of Rachel's Reviews? Do you look forward to Family Movie Night, Female Film Critics panels, or the Talking Disney podcast? If so, please consider supporting the podcast by becoming a Patreon. As a patron, you get to access monthly events such as the watch-alongs and Q&As, where you get to talk to stars and find out the behind the scenes of the movie making industry. And you can pick what I review for Family Movie Night or even become a guest on the podcast. Podcasts and YouTube channels are expensive, and I really, really could use your help. I would so appreciate it. You also get to be a member of the Facebook group where we talk about all the films that we're seeing, and we have so much fun. Go to patreon.com/hallmarkies and select one of the Rachel's fan tiers. That's patreon.com/hallmarkies.
So Lynn wrote 11 songs for this, and I really enjoyed.
I like all of them.
Yeah, I
In
did
fact,
too.
each one, if I was like, oh, nothing's gonna top this one, and then you know, because I'm like, oh, it's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah, I mean, even Gabby's song, I had fun with my own
Oh yeah,
drum. My own
absolutely,
drum.
yeah.
And I think which one did I keep the beat? I really loved that. With Gloria Stefan.
Oh,
Uh,
so great to
that.
have Gloria Estefan, as
Mhm.
part of the cast. I thought she did a great job.
I really liked Inside Your Heart.
Yeah, I did too.
That was a good song. I really liked the which is the one. I liked the one more song that I think it's the one Andre sings. Um they're all just it was really good. One thing that's interesting about this movie is that Roger Deakins was the visual consultant for this movie.
And you could tell, you know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah.
Is because the visuals were so good and so
Hmm.
interesting, and yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And I actually have the art book for this movie.
Oh,
And
Rachel. Oh, I bet
and,
that's so good.
and Roger Deakins wrote the intro
Oh my
to the
stars.
art book. So it wasn't just, one of those like executive produced by,
Right. He like has one meeting with him or whatever.
right.
But no, he was involved.
Yeah, no, he
And
was
you could tell. And you could tell.
yeah, he was really involved. And I've always been curious because they always list like a cinematographer on animated films. And I was like, what do they do? What does a
Yeah.
cinematographer do in an animated film? And obviously, certainly when you have like the multi-plane cameras and everything's like that, there's like then it makes more sense. But for these CG films, like what does a cinematographer do?
Yeah. I think
But
they
I think it's more
control.
about creating an overall visual aesthetic
Mm-hmm.
that he did. And it is a beautiful film. And like I said, especially loved the anytime I went into the 2D. It was so good.
Yeah, it was so good. One other thing about the music, Rachel, that Alex is it Lackamore? I'm sure I'm butchering his name, who was like the musical director of Hamilton. I think
Hmm.
he's just a longtime collaborator with Lynn.
Yeah.
Uh, was involved with this project too, and you can tell because again,
Yeah.
I think it's one of the reasons why the songs were so well put together is because of Alex's work.
Yeah. And then also, I'm going to butcher her name. I apologize. Kiera Alegria Hudes is did the screenplay with Kirk D'Amico
Yeah,
and the story, and she is the one who did In the Heights, the book
yeah.
for In the
See,
Heights. So yeah,
so
they
good.
work together.
Yeah,
So yeah, he just got this amazing team together to work on this film. And you can show you can and I so wish that we could get all of these films that were just sent right to streaming, even if it's just like a Fathom event. I would love that.
I would too. I would
I mean,
love
I'm
it.
lucky that I was able to see it, but I was able to see Luca
Yeah.
and in animation as film.
Oh, see, that's so cool because yeah, I
Hmm.
Luca and Vivo now are two that I really, really want to see on the big screen.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, even though I wasn't the biggest fan, I'd still see Turning Red. Like to see it
Yeah,
on.
well, and I'd see Soul. on the big screen.
Oh
But,
yeah, that one too.
uh, one thing about Vivo that was so striking to me, Rachel, and I think as we alluded to earlier, was just the great work that Sony Pictures Animation does.
Mhm.
I loved how they, these from these real settings, whether it was Havana or Miami or the Everglades or whatever, amp these places that we've seen and been to probably in some
Yeah.
cases. I haven't been to Havana, but I've been to Miami and the Everglades, and it I just loved I just it's like that's one of the reasons I just love animation so much is that
Mhm.
they can take something that's familiar that we would recognize, but they amp it up.
Yeah.
Um, and that's I think they've just again one of the beauties of
Yeah,
it.
and the contrast between the design of Cuba of Havana versus Miami was
Yes,
so striking
yeah.
because Miami, you've got these like fluorescent lights, you got it
Oh,
bright and
at
colorful,
nighttime Miami,
mhm,
I loved it. That's
and
the
then Havana was practically watercolor
yeah, Havana, yeah,
light. I wrote down, yeah, I said capturing Cuba, the colors, the buildings,
the
uh
cars,
yeah, the
yeah.
birds, really beautiful. I also really love just this little friendship between Andres and Vivo. Very sweet.
Wasn't that the sweetest thing?
Yeah.
Yeah,
It says, because of music, we were so in sync, we finished each other's musical phrases.
yeah,
And the fact that they didn't speak the same language didn't matter, which was a very lovely part of this story is that love and friendship and music is powerful, a powerful bond
yeah.
for Vivo and Andres. And he gets the letter from Marta. And we also have not only was Roger Deakins the visual consultant, but the 2D sections, which are pretty extensive.
Yeah.
They were longer than I remembered.
Yeah, I thought I was surprised how much
Yeah.
2D there was. I loved it.
Yeah. That was all done or supervised by James Baxter.
Oh, okay. That
Hmm.
makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So good.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so they announced the 11 songs in 2016. That's when it went over to Sony. I mean, and you just think that so they were working on this for 5 years, which is I mean, these animated films, it's just amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I mean, I was talking to Kirk and he was saying how, everybody's like, oh, it's just with Ruby Gilman, it's just like a turning red. And he's like, we were working on this years before, that
Yeah.
it's just such it's and the fact that that movie also came out the same month that you have the live action Little Mermaid. Nobody in a million years would have ever predicted that, or planned that. This is as if that was like they were scheming.
Like it was counter programming,
Yeah,
right? Or something.
5 years before
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. And yeah, it's not like this was like an ants Bugs Life situation,
Right.
um,
Hey, this is Jen Johans, host of the podcast Watch with Jen, which delivers a steady stream of great movie recommendations, thoughtful career deep dives, and first rate conversations with film critics, authors, actors, journalists, filmmakers, and more. You can find Watch with Jen wherever you get your podcasts or hear us first at our Patreon at patreon.com/filmintuition.
they said they have the Mambo Cabana, and that's where we get, I think, the first of the 2D animation,
Mm-hmm.
which is really fun. We
Yeah.
wanted to push the boundaries and take chances.
They,
Uh,
boy, did they ever.
mhm. I do think this scene where Andres dies is pretty intense.
I thought so too. And I didn't necessarily see it coming, but I thought the way they handled it was artistically interesting and super sad. It
Yeah.
was really
I
it
think
was
because
emotional
usually things like that happen off screen.
off screen.
Uh,
Yeah.
or like you'll see the the family at there might be like a goodbye scene or something, but then you'll see the family at the funeral or
Like
something like that in
3 months later, and then
yeah
there's like his picture, on the wall or something, and Vivo's sad. But
but
no,
you see him die.
yeah, and Vivo finds him dead.
Yeah.
So
I wrote down, I was like, pretty intense for a kid's
yeah,
movie.
I think that would be, and again, artistically the way they did it, this, which as they should, the dark, the dim lighting and all that. It's spooky and it's sad.
Yeah. And then this is when Vivo meets Gabby for the first time, and we get the one more song scene, and so because Vivo finds out that Gabby is going to Florida, so he sneaks into her luggage. And Gabby, she is a free spirit, or is she non-binary? I don't even know if it's
I don't
they.
know.
Sorry.
No, I don't know either, and they never really. I don't think that they ever described her.
Yeah.
But clearly she's a free spirit. One thing too, and this isn't necessarily a complaint, it probably is personal taste, and maybe it was just the purple hair, but I didn't love her character design. Most of the other character designs I really liked, but I don't know.
Well, especially if she's supposed to be a tween, according to the summary. Who knows who wrote the summary? If she's supposed to be a tween, that means like 11, 12. She looked younger than that to me.
She looked younger than that, and then also all of her, the Sand Dollar Mean Girls, they seemed younger almost to me too. Those girls kind of reminded me of the little girls that torment Lilo and Lilo and Stitch, the girls from her hula class or from school or wherever they are. But anyway,
they're a little bit like the girls for Gru in Despicable Me too.
Yes.
Yeah. Which are actually my favorite part of those movies. Even though I can't think of their names. I like I like the girls. But yeah, so she sings My Own Drum, and she's supposed to be she's supposed to be her own thing. And it was laid on a little thick. But I think it'll be cute for kids. I think kids will enjoy Gabby.
Yeah, I think kids would enjoy Gabby and probably can relate to her, in that just how spunky she is and fearless.
Yeah. And then we have the I do like the animation in the My Own Drum sequence.
Oh yeah,
it's
for sure.
Really bright and colorful in the way that again it uses that 2D is with the music. It all I think works really well.
Yeah.
When they get to Florida, they say Florida's weird, and he sees the pink flamingos. He's like, what's going on? That was funny, I thought.
Yeah.
And they miss the bus, and so then that's when things start to get a little crazier.
Yeah.
And there's that weird guy who wants a cookie from the. He's like, I'm not a bad man. I just want a cookie.
Yes.
To the Girl Scouts. And this is when we get Keep the Beat, which is maybe it's one of the highlights.
Oh,
is
for
really
sure. That is so much fun. Yeah. So clever. So cheery. Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah. And then they make a raft, and another Keep the Beat. That was another favorite of mine. I really enjoyed that song.
Yeah.
And it's Vivo teaches Gabby how to play the drums because she's basically doing it wrong. Then we get a little side plot where he helps these two birds fall in love.
Right.
Dan Carino and Valentina.
Yes.
Are the birds. Which was cute. And
it was cute, actually. And again, the birds had great, I thought, character design, and they were fun, and they get used into the plot, a quarter of the plot, which is helpful. Yeah.
Yes, and then we have Lutador the python,
Yeah, who I
It
thought
was
was
good.
scary.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
And,
good.
and again, I appreciated Gabby's, kind of indomitable spirit with it. But as we were saying earlier, like I think that would be a scary
You'd
encounter.
be way more scared. And
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and that is one thing that with Lilo and Stitch, that Lilo, I do appreciate how genuine a character she is.
Yes.
She's weird and strange, and she's just as, compared to Gabby, she's just as like quirky and different and her own person kind of a thing, but she's a lot more like flawed and strange, and I don't know, it's just more authentic of a character.
Yeah, I think more
And more
authentic
successful of a character.
and more, I don't know if emotional is the right word, Rachel, but
Mhm.
just like, and I think that just comes from the authenticity
Yeah.
that she responds in a way that you could, yeah, that's, I think how how that character would respond, or kind of like how a human
Yeah.
would respond
Mhm.
versus Gabby, who's just kind of, wow, like, nothing gets me down.
Mhm.
But yeah.
I did think it was sweet when Gabby gives Vivo the bracelets.
Oh, that was adorable.
Yeah. And she says, you have to finish the mission for both of us, because her
I
mom's showed up this
Yeah,
time.
I really I like that part
No.
too. And I was really happy that that's how it rolled, is that Vivo was the one who finished the mission, and wasn't Gabby going into the room and
Mhm.
talking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I also did like the mother, that she wasn't just these like shrill, horrible mother. Like she had every reason, obviously, to be extremely upset. Like,
Yeah,
and she
exactly.
says, you can't go 100 miles to Miami without telling me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Zoe
it was just,
Saldana, right? Is the
oh,
voice
that's right. Yeah.
of Gabby's mom.
Yeah. And he says that she never got to tell her dad how much I loved him. I never got to tell dad how much I loved him.
Yeah.
And the mom says, your dad knew you loved him. That love lives forever in your heart. So I think there were enough sweet moments like that to again, not a deal breaker of a character. It wasn't perfect, but there were enough sweet moments to make it work.
Yeah, agreed.
Mm-hmm. And so Vivo meets Marta, and he is able to, even though the song gets destroyed at one point, he's able to play the song for
Yeah,
for Marta. It was very sweet.
that was so sweet. I
Mm-hmm.
loved it. And that, and I was glad for like a really good payoff,
Mm-hmm.
because they've been through so many vicissitudes trying to get
Yeah.
and in just classic movie style, that's one of those
Mm-hmm.
moments that I thought they hit all the right notes.
Well, and then when she sings Inside Your Heart, that it's like actually a song that pays off. Because a lot of times,
Yeah.
there's a lot of times on Hallmark movies where they'll build up this like big, like musical moment, like if it's in the, and then usually the song's like not that great. And so
Oh
this
dear.
was nice that this song
The
actually
song was actually good.
and
Great.
then they go to the then Gabby and her mom go to the Marta concert, and it's very sweet. And I think with kids, I think obviously you have to pick your battles, and I think that's what Gabby's mom learns, is that going to the concert and also like forcing her to be in the Girl Scouts, things like that doesn't really matter, and that there's more important things to focus on.
Yeah, Gabby's mom has like a pretty good character arc, doesn't she?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, Hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/hallmarkies.
So it just makes for a really satisfying little 95-minute little movie. You mentioned the voice acting, but I think it's all real solid. Lin-Manuel Miranda, Zoe Saldana, Brian Tyree Henry, Gloria Estefan.
Gloria Estefan, yeah, who plays Marta, and she delivers. I think that was a really good choice.
I asked on Twitter what my followers, and I got quite a few responses. Sometimes I hardly get any, and then other times, I was kind of surprised. I said on my Twitter, I was worried it would be a movie I overpraised with the pandemic, but if anything, I think it's underappreciated. And then Riku Zegram says, was this a Netflix animated movie? Because this is the first I've heard of it. It's like,
yeah,
oh, no.
just like we were talking about. Yeah, it's just
this is why we need to do it for obscuration.
Yeah, exactly. People really should see this film. It's really
good. Kevin Rodriguez, he says it's fine, not especially memorable, but cute enough. 22 Tiger Deuce is disappointing. First act and third act were emotional and beautiful, but the large middle act really lost me. Bree, she says, loved it, own it. If not for COVID, I think it could have easily rivaled any Disney musical. Adam Clay says it's cute enough. One of the 4 feature films featuring Lin-Manuel Miranda that year. It was of the least significance. Oh, yeah. He did have an amazing year.
Wowza.
Yeah. Jack Valdick says pretty enjoyable, except for My Own Drum song. Animated Antics says I personally loved it. Still one of my favorite animated films of 2021. Mike K says I loved it. Still get some of those songs stuck in my head. Kevin the Critic says above average. Sora says I actually loved it, and so did my kids. And if I'm not wrong, it was the first time I saw the potential behind Netflix animation. It was a pretty strong one. Cinema Gettigan says terrible. I feel like the real movie started and ended in the first 15 minutes, and then an entirely different and worse movie began after the 20-minute mark. And then Samuel Leggett says some of the best music of any movie that year. So underrated. So all over the place.
Yeah.
And I mean, I suppose I had tons of response, but most people really enjoy it. GS Movie Fan, I love this movie. And others loved it. So there we go. It is, I think, an underappreciated little movie, and I'm actually surprised it's not one that it seems like one of those ones that Netflix would remove, which these streaming services are doing.
I was so surprised that I was going to rent it, and I thought, oh, let's see if it's still maybe on Netflix, and I was happy that it was still on Netflix, at least as of earlier this week.
Yeah. So if you haven't seen it, definitely see it, because you never know these days when it could be gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's really cute. And 4 projects that year, Lynn. You say that
in awe.
Yeah, and that's so what because you had Hamilton on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
You had Tick Tick Boom, you had Encanto and Vivo. Yeah, amazing.
What year did the In the Heights movie come out?
Oh, In the Heights too. So if you count Hamilton, that would be 5. Yeah. Anyway, so crazy. But let us know what you think. Where are you at on Vivo? If you're listening, what did you think of it? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. And Stanford, where can people find you?
So I've got issues with Twitter /X. So I'm on Blue Sky now, Stanford Clark, as well as on Threads. And I still check Twitter /X periodically, but I'm trying to wean myself off. And then I have a podcast blog at moviespastandpresent.com.
Great. And you can find us at Talking Disney. You can find us at Disney Talking on whatever it's called now these days.
Yeah.
And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, check out everything going on at Hallmarkies Podcast. A lot of fun stuff there. And if you are listening to this episode on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you are listening on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. That really helps us a lot. And you have our playlist with all of our Talking Disney episodes. We're almost at 85. Can you believe it? For Talking Disney.
I can't believe
I don't know how many obscure animations we've done.
I know. I mean, they've all been so fun, but I just, wow. Holy smokes.
It's so much fun. But also we have the Patreon and the merch store. Hashtag Animation Junkie shirts at the merch store. So check that out. And thanks so much, everybody. We'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.